Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Chill Podcast. Today's guest is Jam. I do not know your last name,
Oh,
but
it's Doughty.
Doughty, Jam
Doughty.
Doughty. They go by Wormy Orchids on Instagram, and their bio is Hi, friends. I'm Jam. I'll just read it in the third person from now on. They draw creatures, plants, buildings, things they find on the sidewalk, and unhinged still life tableaus. For the last 3 years, they've worked as a family educator during free drop in family programming at the Garfield Park Conservatory, making art in their free time. While I can't, while they can't participate
It's
as
okay. You can
directly
be
right
mean.
now, yeah, that would be interesting. I still want to create work that helps people engage with urban biodiversity. Shifting my focus to art full time means I will be able to tackle larger projects that I've been working towards, such as self published comics, character design, and larger multimedia works. Additionally, I love an excuse to participate in multi generational family vocation of mailing people weird art. I love. Tell me about the multi generational family vocation. That's so interesting to me.
So I come from a mail art dynasty, which
Right on.
I'm very lucky to say. Like I grew up receiving a lot of really interesting mail from my grandpa, my grandma, my cousins, my distant uncles, and all of my grandpa's pen pals. So it was the scene he was involved in was a lot of rubber stamps and collaging and like surrealist dadaist stuff. He was also very into his mail art name fluctuated, but the most consistent one was Rudy Rubberoid. But I always knew him as Gump.
That is so cool.
Here's an example of an envelope from him. He had a very large archive of crazy like collage materials and like stamps and all kinds of like rejected from the library ancient art books that he would like chop up and send pieces to me or like create envelopes with. I don't think I can find a grandma piece in here, but she also makes a lot of mail, and she still does. My grandpa passed away while I was in college, but we got many years of sending mail to each other.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so.
Um,
How old were you when you started participating in the like mail art stuff?
I don't remember, so probably like before I could write.
Wow, that's
I
great.
was like, my parents would like. My mom is also a prodigious mail artist. I have some of. Here's one of her postcards.
Oh, that's cool.
I make these little flies, and she
Yeah.
utilizes them.
No, yeah.
um,
When I got the like a sticker pack from you, I remember like just loving the envelope that it came in, and like I was so excited about that aspect of it as well. I was like, I gotta do that in the future because it adds such a like wonderful, awesome element to getting mail.
Thanks. Yeah, I like grew up where it was like considered weird to receive a blank envelope. It was like, is grandpa feeling okay? Or like if I sent one, he'd be like so
You check in.
yeah. Um my mom and me definitely had a lot of like uh collaging and stickering time at the kitchen table when I was little. Um
Cool.
and my dad is a doodler of a different mail art variety. He really likes drawing on all of our bills. Or like that was what he always did when I was a kid. And now he works like with shipping and stuff, but whenever he gets a chance to like add an angry mud skipper to a box or like he has characters, it's really like I I used to I've tried to think of how to gather my thoughts about like mail art's impact on me, because it's just kind of like cradled me my entire life.
That's great. Is it do you find that like now that you're sort of making art on your own more, is it like, does that impact the way that you look at the mail art that you've been doing since you were growing up, or are they like separate processes for you, or are they pretty intertwined?
They're definitely very tied up for me. Like, part of why I've been enjoying making the collage pieces that we were talking about earlier, I guess not on not on record, but I'm sure they'll come up. Part of why I've been so interested in making those is because I feel like I'm finally coming into my own in terms of collages, which I didn't feel like I had a full grasp on before. But I feel like I'm doing my grandpa proud.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Since you brought it up, could you talk a little bit about the process for some of the collage drawings you've been doing, and kind of where you start with those and how those come together?
Yeah. So initially, I think inspired by the mail art, I've been collecting small magazine bits for a very long time. And when I started trying to consolidate them, I started like chopping them up and compiling them into reference books of like imagery that I would use for drawing, and I would bring them to like open like drink and draw nights, or like if I knew I was going to go like sit in a cafe and draw, I would bring one along. But those like gradually evolved into an idea of like, I made a few collages that I really wanted to try illustrating just because of the textures in them, and I thought that it would be a good way to like experiment with color. And so yeah, I like drew those two collages from years ago, and it just started this process of like creating a collage, drawing the collage, creating two more collages, drawing one of them. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
I've
love
been,
that idea, because you're like, the collage composition is still so there in the like the drawing, but everything's a little bit smoother. You've definitely like smoothed out some of the rough edges. It's a great effect.
thanks. Yeah, I kind of see them as like a translation of like, I guess I kind of see it as a way to like let people into my brain as well, as a way of like just sharing like my weirdly colored glasses of the world with everyone else. Because
So
I think that's like one of the more important things about art is like sharing your like internal vision. I don't know.
Yeah, that
What were
made
you
me
saying?
think, do the things that you collect, besides being reference material, like they must have some sort of significance to you for you to collect them. I wonder if you could talk about that, like the different things that you collect, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes I really don't know what the significance is, or like why I feel like I can't just like leave this in the magazine that I'm going to recycle. Like I can't abandon it, like it has to come with me. Or um yeah, sometimes I can't really place it. Like what makes like a little segment of a larger image like compelling to me in a way that I would like to translate it. But I definitely have like if it's in a magazine, I'm going to cut it out no matter what for like a few subject matters. Like anything that's like vaguely natural history, museum, like cabinet of curiosities. I know that I want to incorporate that. Architectural like corners, like bits of spaces without the whole rest of the space. I like including those, and like segments of human beings. not the whole thing. But yeah, any kind of insect or plant is definitely going to be cut out.
Right on. That's especially the one you just posted yesterday, but a lot of the collage drawings you've been posting on Instagram and stuff almost make me think of like comic layouts. And in the bio, Alex read that you shared with us, you mentioned that you also do some comic work. Are there like layout things that you take from comics in your collages, or am I just imagining panels where there aren't any?
No, you're totally right on. I'm actually like part of why part of like my approach to the collages has been to try and angle them towards kind of an abstract comic feel. And I've been trying to like make the component pieces like relate to each other in some way. Oh yeah. So I have been like attempting to push them in the direction of a comic, but I have always struggled with plot. Like that's my main issue that is keeping me from making more comics, is that like I'm just really not a plot oriented person, at least in the stuff that I make. And
Have you ever seen any comics by a guy named Sasaki Maki?
if you spell it or type it in the chat, I will look it up.
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat, but for anybody listening at home, it's first name Sasaki and then last name Maki. He was, I think he's still alive, but he's not really doing comics anymore. But he made in like the 80s a bunch of really like bizarre stream of consciousness, mostly wordless, like manga and Japanese comics. And they are just, I think he would agree with what you're saying about just not really caring for plot all that much. They read a lot more like just like poems, and there'll be these reoccurring images that show up sometimes more in service of just the composition than anything else, but sometimes there's a through line. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
really wild stuff. Definitely, I think he'd be up your alley.
Thank you so much for the recommendation. This looks incredible. Is it in purple ink?
So I don't
It looks
know.
so 70s.
Yeah, I don't know if he was drawing in the purple ink, but the only thing that's like in print in English is that Ding Dong Circus. The great publisher in England, Breakdown Press, put out, and it's just a gorgeous edition of like 5 or 6 short stories, and it is definitely worth the pain in the ass that is international shipping to be able to flip through it. But
oh, thank you. That
yeah.
sounds very like something I really would like to immerse myself in.
Cool. Yeah, your work kind of makes me think of him, and to hear that you do comics, that tracks. But yeah, plot is the worst part every time.
Yeah, it's so tricky. Oh, what I feel. Oh yeah. I have
apologize
made.
for cutting you off there.
Oh, it's okay. I was just gonna try to go back to. I have made one comic, and it's about roly polies going on a hike. And I chose them not just because I love roly polies, but also because I really have a hard time drawing humans. That's something I'm trying to work on. But yeah, I'm really hoping to make more comics in the future. There's one that I made a while ago that was almost a fusion between like the collage style and the roly-poly comic. That's like a big panorama underground of different hibernating creatures and different caverns. Oh,
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Inktober was like really it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. Which is why I'm glad I took the roly-polies with me, like they're very comfortable. Roly-polies really do molt half at a time, and it does look like they're wearing little pants. It's really cute.
Oh, that's alarming to think about.
Because it takes their exoskeleton a minute to dry, and when it's still like soft, it's white, and as it hardens, it turns gray. So it looks like they're these cute little two-tone roly-polies crawling around.
Oh,
Yeah, I love how
wow.
you included the bird as well. That's like the relationship that they have with the birds who eat them. Like the exoskeletons.
Bird is kind of the foil of the whole comic, like the loving foil. He's an adopted member of their family.
Oh, that's wonderful. That sounds great.
That name too, Burb.
Wow.
I have a lot of fun drawing him like very emotional because I feel like birds in real life are so sarcastic and dry. They have no facial expressions, but like this guy I can make like a total snuggle bug.
Yeah. What is your process for like the facial expressions? Do you use references or do you have like a specific book that you use for like comic facial expressions or?
That's one of the things I'm still really trying to figure out about comics. I don't really have a reference guide yet. And if you have a recommendation for a good one, I would definitely love it. I've mostly been practicing by like drawing other comics and just trying to draw as many faces as I can. But I get so much more easily frustrated drawing humans than like plants or rocks.
Fair. What's your like go-to comic to draw from, or to read for that matter, if you had to pick like a couple?
Well, mostly I've been drawing from Power Rangers comics lately.
Nice.
My partner has been lending them to me, like the new trade copies, which are super goofy and full of like really like extreme poses. So I've been drawing from those a lot. But in terms of like comic influence, I recently, or I guess it was at the beginning of the pandemic, so not recently, read The World of Edina by Mobius.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And that like really blew my mind. Also, a dystopian society with mandatory masks. It was like really interesting to read like this weird commentary about like societal like agreed upon measures of safety, like as we were figuring that out. I mean, we're still figuring that out. We're not there yet.
Yeah. I watched HBO's Watchmen around the time of that as well, and they have like this whole thing with masks. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it's like now that it's so relevant in our lives, like all of the past things that have like experimented with that idea seem like creepily prescient.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's funny too, because all the folks who were writing about masks before 2020, spot on, super prescient, good for them. And I am already like preemptively sick of all the people after 2020 who will be writing about masks. I think that's going to be a new bizarre trope to have to maneuver
Yeah.
around. Have you thought about just setting it in COVID though, and you don't even have to worry about facial expressions, right?
Yeah.
That's very true. That's a great idea. But then there's bodies.
Can't get around those, I guess.
Can't escape them.
In your bio, you mentioned kind of making the transition to doing art full time. Is that in part because of the pandemic, or was that a choice you made prior?
It was something that I was like working towards, but didn't think was like actually like very feasible. I've been working part-time at the conservatory in Chicago, which I really love. But I don't think I could be there full time without going nuts or being exposed. And like before the pandemic, it was the perfect amount of like societal interaction. Like basically, I would just dig in a pit of dirt with kids and talk to them about whatever they wanted to talk about, and like water plants with them and like read stories to them, like shoot the shit with their parents. It was the best. And it gave me like the social interaction that I needed to like spend a bunch of my other time focused on art. And that was like a really good balance. But when the pandemic hit, I was like, that's no longer feasible. Like, I still work there part-time as like I help facilitate virtual field trips and like write programs and stuff. But it's not very many hours a week. It's the tables have turned at this point in terms of like where my actual like the majority of my work is, and it's been really hard to spend this much time in my brain. And I feel like once it is like once I'm able to interact with people on a more regular basis again, I will have a better like mental ability to be able to do art full time. But right now it's like, it's really nice to be able to wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to spend 10 hours on art today. Like I'm just going to make all day. But like by 2 p.m. I've listened to too many podcasts for my brain to work. And like,
For sure.
It's been an interesting transition, and I'm lucky to have like a lot of support, like a few solid businesses that have continued to like sell and support my art throughout the pandemic, which has been really great. Like I don't know what I would do without them.
How did you get in touch with them beforehand? Like, how did you develop that relationship?
So when I first moved to the city, I did a lot of going, like biking around to different stores and bringing them my art and being like, will you sell my stickers here? And I started out very apologetic and very unconfident and very like, if this doesn't fit with your vibe, like I totally understand. And now that I've like formed positive relationships with like a couple of shop owners, I'm less worried about it. I feel like I'm bringing something of value to the table instead of feeling like they're taking me on as like a charity case, which is kind of how I felt when I first moved here. Like, because the art scene where I'd lived previously in Olympia, Washington, was very competitive. And it's like, here, there's enough space to breathe, I feel like.
Yeah. Isn't that where Lisa Codon is from? Maybe. I don't know.
I've tried. Oh no, I'm thinking of Linda Berry.
Yeah. Which one? Who is Lisa Codon?
She's like this big. She wrote this book called Art Inc., and it like gives you a lot of skill, like things in relation to art, like business practices and like legal stuff, but also sort of motivation and encouragement. And she's written a bunch of other things in that same vein. Yeah, she's good to follow. Um, I wonder about a little bit more about the relationships that you have with these shops too. That do you usually do like 50-50? Like they keep half and you get half of what they sell? Is it
I
different?
Yeah, it kind of varies from shop to shop. So one of the places I sell at Wolf Bait and Bee Girls is um, they do it 50-50 because they're like a big maker collective and they have like I think like over like 400 makers like have their products at the store.
Mm,
So they have like a very like cut and dry like this is how you input, this is how you output system because there's just so many people in like such a compact space. But they're really cool. Their owner also like runs an organic farm, like like an urban farm that
oh, cool.
does a bunch of like community produce and stuff. And then the main place that I bring my art is Space Oddities, which they're very fun. They're a very tiny like bookstore art place. They do a lot of tarot readings. I think they
Nice.
also have poetry nights, or did. They had a interview with a vampire book club. They have a lot of like events and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, that's
And
yeah.
the people there are like very. They've really helped me learn how to like actually value my work, and
Mm.
like not be as shy about it.
That makes sense. That sounds like a lot like this place here, Mutiny Information Cafe. Like the guy that runs that is super into buying art from like local artists, and I think he sells books and everything from local artists as well. And it's actually featured like really prominently when you walk in there. And the same with this other place, Kilgore Books. Like I know Dustin has like some of his comics there,
Hell
and
yeah.
yeah, like and I know I've probably got stickers and stuff there, and um, yeah, I just really love that. So that was different from Olympia, like a different experience. Like it was a little bit more um, cooperative versus competitive, or
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just my approach in Olympia that made me feel that it was competitive because I went to school there and like I grew up not too far away from there. And it might have been part of me feeling like I was still stuck inside of a bubble that I couldn't see out of.
mm,
Um, I think that if I was back there now, I would probably have a better time in the art scene because I'd be less focused on ranking myself against my peers and more interested in collaborating with them. I think that was just my different mindset of being like 21 and feeling like I had to like claw my way to the top. Which I didn't feel like I could do, and I'm glad that I didn't try. Would have burned a lot of bridges.
yeah,
But not to like shit talk Olympia. It's just a small town with a really weird college. It's gonna be a strange place.
mm.
Did you move to Chicago for school as well, or?
I moved here to escape that bubble that I felt like I was in. I wanted to live in a different ecosystem. I wanted to live in a city, but I felt like living in Seattle would have been pretty terrible given the rent situation and the rich yuppies situation. And I just, I felt that I needed to. Also, at that time, I guess part of it, I didn't really realize that this could have been part of my desire to move then, but that was when I was transitioning. And it really made it a lot easier to start going by the name that I preferred and introducing people without having to rework their conception of me as much. Like,
Hmm.
I guess that was probably subconsciously part of why I felt the need to make a new place for myself, or a new like little niche for myself.
Yeah, that
And
makes a lot
also
of sense.
Washington is just pretty dang white, and I wanted to live somewhere that wasn't as like I mean, Chicago is also a very segregated city, and it's just, I feel like me summarizing it as moving from a very white place to a more diverse place isn't fully accurate because of the reality of like redlining.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely like just wanted to be in a place that was like pushing my understandings and conceptions of other humans and their realities. I just wanted to interact with people who were not all from Linwood. And I really love living in Chicago. There's something really comforting about being immersed in like a million sounds of a million lives going on around me, and I didn't know I would enjoy it since I grew up in the burbs of the woods. But there's something that like just makes me feel like a human.
Mm.
Has it changed your art or your process much, being in a different environment like that?
I think so. One of my friends who I talked to a lot about my art definitely commented on it like within a few months of me moving. Was like, your style is different and I love it. But I feel like just like the sheer abundance of subject matter to draw in Chicago, like Washington is full of natural beauty, but you can't really like sit outside and draw very much because it's always raining. So just being in a different environment, like socially and environmentally, gave me different stuff that I was soaking in and processing and putting out. And I guess in that it also changed the process. Sorry, I am very warm. 1 second.
No worries.
All good.
Sorry, I know this is a chill podcast. I'm just a very nervous being.
No worries. No worries. That's I think some of the desire to have a chill podcast is it gives all of us a chance to force ourselves to be a little less nervous. Maybe. I don't know if that's accurate or
A valiant effort.
happening.
Yeah, it seems like every episode turns into something dark at some point, and it's like, oh, it's not very chill.
I feel chill.
I'm feeling pretty chill. I'm chilling. One thing that there's two things that I'm interested in. I suppose I'll just ask both of them at the same time. I'm curious about the urban biodiversity that you talk about, because like it seems like you are really drawn towards natural things and from where you work and from what you draw, and that does seem kind of opposed to like an urban environment. And so I like that you include urban biodiversity because there's probably still a lot of opportunities for that in there, and I'm curious about your thoughts about that. And I was also wondering if you've, it seems like kind of an obvious question, but just to give you more of a chance to talk about it, if you've included your transition in your art, and if, yeah, like what that is to you.
Thanks. Those are both questions I could talk about infinitely. So thank you. So I uh I always, I don't know, I see the city as an ecosystem, and like we're just a really big keystone species. Like we just take up a disproportionate niche, but like our existence creates so many niches that didn't exist before.
Mm.
And what I really wanted to study in college, when I first started, was like human animal interactions, like human and non-human relationships, and like where that interface happens. And the city just seems like a really like dense concentration of those events to me. And like the subject matter that like really gets me going is like some living thing like carving out a place to grow in like a cinder block, or like a bunny nest in like underneath a dumpster, or like swallow nests under like big concrete retention bridges, like all of the ways that things live in our midst without us really like thinking too much about them. Or like no matter how many steps we take to control our environment is still an ecosystem because we're still animals. And so there still could be other creatures in there with us, like no matter what we do. And I just think that like finding a way to, I guess I see it as kind of like plant blindness. Have you heard of this concept?
Mm.
It's I'm probably gonna do a bad job explaining it, but it's basically like just the social conditioning that like really doesn't make us pick up plants as like living or significant parts of the environment. Like when you're scanning around the environment, like you're less likely to pick those things up. Like if you don't specifically check them out, you're less likely to notice what is going on like in the floral universe around you. And once you start to get a few little handholds into that territory, you start seeing shit everywhere. And like that happened to me my freshman year of college. Like as soon as I like turned on like the observational like lens, like it just all flipped, and like I couldn't go on a walk without like stopping at every yard and being like, what is this? What's going on here? Yeah. Like what like complex battle is playing out?
Yeah. Yeah, like I know for me, one that I'm still working on is seeing trees as alive, like trying to understand them as living beings, like drinking water from the ground and like breathing and all this other stuff, you know, like because I know that when I'm like outside going for a walk and I see trees, I don't necessarily think, oh, that's a living thing. It's just like a tree, you know, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I find it to be very like, I don't know, I guess kind of like the main mission of a lot of the work I do, like a lot of the like drawings or teaching that I do around nature, urban biodiversity, is to like open people up to the idea that like they don't need to leave the city to go like spend time in nature, or like to commune with another living being that is not a human. Like I guess a lot of it for me is like flipping that switch for kids, especially, just because like it makes their environment more like friendly and like interesting to them, you know? Like it's boring to grow up in a place where you feel like you don't, I don't know, I have a big problem with the idea of having to like, of nature being this like inaccessible like weekend vacation you stock up at REI, like that's the only way that you can experience nature, because it just devalues the experience of nature that a lot of people have, which is like I have this tree in my backyard that I look at every single day, and I've watched it grow, and I've watched it tangle up in the wires and have to get chopped by the city guys. And like, I just think that like the relationships that we build with these like tough little pieces of nature that like insist on being in our lives are really important too.
Yeah. Noticing how they adapt is what I was thinking of when you were talking them.
Yeah, like in a corny way, it definitely like is like encouraging and inspiring to feel like, oh, this guy's really doing his best. Like this thing has like a teaspoon of soil and it has made like 25 flowers and it's saying, hey, like it just, it cheers me up. It gives me, it's like getting a little wave from a friend on the train. And I don't know, I just want that to be a thing for other people as well. Oh, and for your second question, I haven't really created a lot of art that is explicitly like self-reflective around my transition, but it is so much like a part of like my lens of how I create art that I feel like sometimes it shows through. A lot of humans I end up drawing like are pretty androgynous or like gender full. I have wanted to explore this through self-portraits for a while, but I'm not the best at reflection. And that is something that I would like to do more because it's this process that's so important to me and I'm spending so much time in. Like, it would be nice if it did reflect these changes that I'm going through. But I guess the thing with like coming out as non-binary is it hasn't felt as much like a transition as it could. I feel like it's more like a just realization.
I guess that makes me wonder if it would then, like, with that realization, make you more comfortable with forms of expression. Like, there are new avenues that have opened up to you because you've sort of relaxed into yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, like it tears down a mental boundary of like, oh, that direction is dangerous. I can't go over there. I'll get, but yeah, like once the can of worms is open, like there's nothing to hide. And it definitely does make me feel freer in terms of like what I can like attempt to depict, because I'm being more honest with myself. I've definitely felt it affect my teaching as well in that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I would teach in person, I had so many conversations about gender with kids because they wanted to know. And awesome. It would always like, I would try and be as open with them as I could and not try and make it like, not try and take an easy out and be like, I don't know, I didn't want to deceive them because I wanted to bring my whole self to them because that's what they're doing. And I found that generally it would make parents a little uncomfortable. Like they would be like, oh my God, don't ask them that. Like, that's not a cool thing to ask a stranger. And I'd just be like, I'm glad that you asked me this. Maybe don't ask every other non-binary person this, but like, ask me, get out all your questions right now.
Well, that's a lot for you to take on, but good for you for having those conversations with people and kids especially. That's great.
Thanks. It actually like really helped me figure it out on like, I don't know. I really love kids' brains, and I love just talking to kids like on their, I don't know, like they probably, it's hard to know like what level kids are seeing you at, like if they're seeing you as on their level and going to tell you things like they're on your level, which I always really enjoy. But yeah, it definitely like helped me kind of hammer things out on my own, to have like a 4-year-old ask me. Like somehow I'm more comfortable talking about a 4-year-old with it than like my own brain.
It's interesting. Like maybe the 4-year-old will be like offer you compassion that you might not have for yourself yet, or something.
Exactly. They'll be a lot. They'll be nice. They'll be honest. They'll.
Yeah.
It's good to have a 4-year-old around to bounce some ideas off of every once in a while.
So good. I miss them.
Have you done much art geared towards like younger people and younger readers? I know you've worked in education. Have you done much creative work in that towards that audience?
Yeah, I've made like some educational tools for the conservatory and for a children's museum I used to work for in Olympia. So like drawing like coloring sheets or like activity zines, or like identification guides. But Small Trek is really the main thing. The Roly Poly comic, Small Trek, is really the main thing I've made that I'm like, I want kids to read this book.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you have copies of that like laying around?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Do
cool.
you want me to snag one?
Yeah, might as well.
Heck yeah.
Are they up on your Etsy too for folks to buy? Oh, they
It
left.
must be.
I think they are on their Etsy. I was browsing before we all met up. We'll put that in the show notes, the link to Jam's Etsy. Oh, cool.
This guy.
Small
yeah.
Trek.
That's
Burp.
awesome.
Yeah, this like is the main one that I have, like when I was making it, I intentionally was like, I have to like, I wanted it to be like a nice and gentle and comforting thing, that wouldn't like introduce any subject matter that would make the kids worried about them, but still like, I don't know. I was a very anxious child and I tried to kind of cater it towards like, what wouldn't have made baby Jam stay up at night worrying that they were okay? Like, keep that out of there. But yeah, like, it's kind of an ode to the dig pit and to like hanging out with 4-year-olds and roly polies. And like, it felt like a way to kind of replicate that emotion in a way that I could send in the mail.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exciting to see you've still got some copies on the Etsy too. That's great.
Yeah.
I'll print more.
Do you have a local printer you work with in Chicago, or do you just print them yourself?
I go to FedEx.
Nice. That works.
I have gotten pretty comfortable with the self-print, like big old stamps, and I found that to be like, I'm sure that there are more cost-effective options, but I found it to be more cost-effective than like using a home printer. I really miss it. In Olympia, there was like a local mom and pop print shop that I used, and they were the best. Olympia Copy and Print. I hope they're still there.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it works. They print on sticker paper, so
Oh, nice. So do you make your stickers at FedEx as well then, or?
yeah, I get this recyclable sticker paper from Eco Enclosed that's actually based out of Colorado.
Oh, cool.
So they send me paper stickers, and then for waterproof stickers, I haven't found a good, like, more sustainable option yet. So I try to limit how many of those I make. Most of the time, I get all my supplies from the Waste Shed, which is this really cool local reuse center that also has like normally during the year they do like workshops and like they had a discard disco trash fashion event recently. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
they're definitely my lifeline. They're a really cool organization, but they're closed for the winter just because it's a small space, not really customer safe. So I think they're going to go back to a bunch of sidewalk sales this summer.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Once a warm.
Yeah, that's like how most of my sourcing is through there, and it just hurts to order things on the internet that I know are just plastic.
Yeah.
Makes me bummed out, but that's COVID.
Yeah.
That's
What?
yeah, that's a rough thing, having to being forced to use it. I'm sure, especially when you know there's a reuse center just down the street. That's got to be
Yes.
tough.
What's
Man.
on the horizon for you? Is there anything, any like projects that you're planning or anything that you're working on? Are you going to keep developing those collages and try to turn them more into like a sort of comic book esque like style or?
Yeah, I'm definitely still grinding away pretty hard at the collages and hoping that, yeah, that I can kind of tease their evolution into the comic direction. I'm also going to try and force myself to spend some time sketching humans to see if I can get a better grasp on like facial expressions and like gestures and all of the things that confuse me. Over the summer, I'm hoping to have some outdoor art events. Like, I'm hoping that I can do some sidewalk pop-ups at some of the shops, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make some weatherproof-ish art so I can have a tiny gallery show in my backyard garden.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, it's on the smaller scale in terms of what I'm planning, but I'm really hoping to push myself in a more comic-y direction and like corral all of my abstract desires into that effort.
Awesome.
I
Well,
think
that'll be
that last one you posted is definitely going towards that direction for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's so great to hear.
definitely excited to see where you go with all that. That's gonna be cool to watch for sure.
Thank you. Do you guys have any good art plans for the spring and summer? Sorry, I tried to spray that back on you.
Taste of our own medicine.
No warning.
You first, Alex.
I think pretty much I just got this new like tub that I'm gonna put all my markers in.
Hell yeah.
So like easier access to everything. So there will probably be new colors, new color combinations on the way. Because usually they like sort of like go to the top, and then like I'm stuck with a certain set for a little while, and then like I'll like redo it. But now I have like this big bin of them, so I'm excited to see how that's going to change, like what colors and stuff that I choose. And then I'm just trying to work on a garden, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to mostly just try to make good soil, and we'll see about the vegetables and stuff. But it'll probably fail this first year, but it'll be fun anyways. Good learning process. What about you, Dustin?
I should have more ambitious plans than I do. My brother and I wrote a comic book that we're gonna try to make now, the art for.
Heck yeah.
He does a lot of like engraving and carving, and I do a lot of like collage and drawing. So we've done some like real short comic stuff together, but this is a bigger project, which is intimidating but exciting. So it'll be cool to see where that goes. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys have got like multiple mediums covered.
A couple anyway, for sure. But
Sweet.
yeah, that'll be fun. That'll for folks wanting to keep up with you, where some good places we can send folks. Your Wormy Orchids on Instagram, is that?
Yeah. I post a lot of process pics on there, and I spend too much time on there, so that's probably a good place. I've also found a pretty great like collage and stuff support, and like zine support on Reddit is surprisingly great. Like the zine and collage communities there are like very active, which is nice.
Right on.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they're always down to swap. Like I have done a lot of mail swaps through Reddit that are
Cool.
fun and international.
Nice. Yeah.
That's
Don't
awesome.
they have that like big Secret Santa every year?
Oh yeah.
I think it's like a big part of their culture is that like that swapping. Oh, that was one thing that I wanted to ask you about is if you have like active pen pals.
Oh, yeah, I have like an address book of people who I try and send a postcard to like every month or so, or more frequently if I can. I've used Patreon to create like a mailing list
Cool.
for like a new zine every month and stuff. But I do send a lot of mail back to Washington. I've been sending some really letters that probably go on very circuitous routes to other parts of Chicago. Might even leave the state, like nobody knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try. It comes in waves, but I try and make the most of the waves where I feel motivated to send out handfuls of postcards.
That makes sense. Like make a day out of it.
Yeah, it's a very I find it to be like a good like semi-social activity that helps me feel that I'm like sending people like hugs and high fives and I can't give them in real life.
Definitely.
And I feel like these days the trip to the mailbox is always a little way more exciting and like a bigger portion of my day than it ever used to be. So I find myself just like looking around my house for like things I could mail to someone.
Yes! That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I've got like, a couple addresses, and it's like, well, I haven't left the house in a day. I should go mail something.
Yeah, a lot of times the mailbox is my only trip out of the house, and I try and make the most of it.
You've gotta, for sure.
Do you have like those big clangy metal mailboxes that you drop them in, the big blue ones?
Yeah.
I don't know why I asked that. We all live in the same country.
Yeah.
Lately, though, there's there's a post office in the back of the Ace Hardware.
Ooh.
I get to like wander through the aisles of like power tools that I don't know how to use or something to be applied for, and then I get to there's like a drop box, and then if I need to do something that I don't know what to like how many stamps to put on or something, I get to like interact with a person, and then they put it in and it's amazing.
Back of the shop post offices are really great. Like the only 24-hour post office that I know of is in a food smart. And it's incredible. They're the nicest people.
That's so cool.
Like I didn't know 24-hour post offices even existed.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you been to the 24-hour post office at like off hours? Have you seen it at like?
That's true. I haven't tested it. I haven't like gone there at 3 a.m. Someday.
That's got to be an interesting crowd. You know, the post office at 3 a.m. is a different line than 8 a.m.
Very true. Night mail.
I'd watch that show like right after Night Court. I'd watch Night Mail. Be bingeable, as it were. Well, gosh, thanks for joining us, Jan.
Yeah.
Do either of
Thank
you
you.
have anything else we need to cover? I don't know what time. I think we've been going, gosh, for about an hour now. I don't want to
Yeah.
keep anybody too long, but not to rush anybody off either. It's
There
a
is one thing I wanted to try, which
Yeah.
was like looking at each other as if we're like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
you know what I mean? Like,
So
yeah. I don't know.
Are we all like in the same place?
I think we're like all like like screen reversed. So like
You're in the middle for me.
I yeah, see that's the problem. We'd have to figure out like which way to
Right.
look, like
Brady
look
Bunch
down.
so I guess for the sake of the recording, Alex, we could do it off of your screen. So where are Jam and I
That's
in
true.
relation to you?
So Jam for me, okay, but you're like reversed, so you're on my right. So and then Dustin, you're below me. And Jam.
That's easy. All I have to do is look up.
So you can look up.
And I'll look left.
Yeah. Yeah. And or yeah, we can do that. And then it'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be cool to take a shot of that or something like for the thing.
What was the was it Town the Get Down? Was that the band who did a whole music video in Zoom where they're like doing coordinated dancing, and it'll be like one person will jump to the right and then like somebody else in the same clothes will like pop from the same direction on like the split
That's
screen.
cool. Oh, I think I saw
Really
that.
neat.
Yeah. That's funny.
People who have mastered the digital medium. How do they do it? These ascended masters, like, geez.
I feel like some people got on it early too. Like
Definitely.
I'm sure we'll get like a wave of people doing very clever things with Zoom now. But people were doing cool stuff with Zoom in like March. You know,
Right.
like they had like 2 weeks into the pandemic, and they somehow learned how to do it all.
Yeah.
I became comfortable on face calls literally like 9 months in. It took so much exposure. Like,
it took a while though. Like it was kind of awful for the first like 8-9 months, and then it was like, okay, I can do it.
Like I would not have been able to like comfortably have this conversation like 6 months ago. I would have been like sweating profusely.
Now we're all in the groove.
Yeah.
We've all come so far here on our Zoom.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on and for being down to chat about the stuff that I make. It really means a lot. And
Hey, of course.
it's been really nice to talk to you guys. Like,
Has been.
internet
nice
art
chatting.
friends are the best.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you for being on too. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I definitely want to get into mail art now.
Yeah.
Like get further.
If you
into
want
it.
a pen pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to set that up.
All right. Thanks everyone. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Sounds good.